Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Gabby Deluca on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from New York. I mean, she's just looking at her Instagram profile. I'll leave the link down below for everyone. I mean, she's traveled to so many awesome and amazing places. She's also a bodybuilder. She's really into health and fitness, so we love to have her guests come on and talk about that. But most importantly, Gabby's our current guest. So thank you so much, Gabby, for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what inspired and what motivated you to get in shape and, really make that change and adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle?
So I've always been an athlete for as long as I can remember. I started swimming before I could walk. My parents threw me in the water, no swimmies, figured it out. All through elementary school, I played basketball and I swam, and I played a little bit of volleyball. Got into middle school, and I had to make a choice between volleyball and swimming. Straight up went for volleyball. I was like, I'm not getting sick getting out of the water in New York at 20, 0 degrees in the middle of the winter. Forget it. So I started playing volleyball. I got on my, what was I? I was a sophomore, which was unheard of. Started playing for, what is it called? Not junior.
Varsity.
What is the varsity? Thank you. That's how long I've been out of high school. So I started playing varsity my sophomore year of high school. Went to Penn State, and my coach. Well, not for college. I went for the summer. My coach told us that if you don't go to Penn State for the summer and spend the summer program there, you don't get to be on the starting line. We had the shit kicked out of us. Now, I was, again, always very athletic, went to sports camps, sleepaway camp for 8 weeks, always very, very, very athletic. And I always knew I had a lot of endurance, and I was really strong. I'm 5'4.5", but I was always told, you're built, you have this big build and you're supported. So I went all through high school, and I kind of ate what I wanted. I wasn't crazy 6 times a day. Got to do get all my meals in, meal prep. Didn't do that shit. It was really just about just getting the fuel in. Like anybody in high school knows, you had pasta parties the night before a big game. So I started playing around with my diet because I really wanted to be I wanted to go to college and I wanted to be shredded. I wanted to be the girl that people were I want to look like that chick. So senior year, just playing volleyball, which was a lot. I was up, school started at 8 o'clock. We had practice before school and after school. So I was practicing 6 o'clock in the morning, finished class at 3 o'clock. I wasn't getting home till 7, 8 o'clock at night. Didn't matter. Played on the weekends, all year round. That's basically how that went. Went off to Boston University my freshman year of college. State of the art gym. When I'm talking, I'm the best of the best athletes go to this gym to work out. And that wasn't even the athletic gym. That was just the gym for the school. The athletic gym was a whole other story. Started really amping up my training. I was I'm not playing a competitive sport anymore. I want to get back into it. I took my routines that my coaches used to give me when I was in high school, and I just rolled with it. And then I started doing more research of, okay, I want to look like Paige Hathaway before she became huge. That's who I really wanted to look like a lot. And I started putting on a decent amount of muscle, but I wasn't eating. So I was kind of in that weird stage that people, you look like you work out, but is it genetic? You don't know because you're not eating enough. And then finals came and my life hit a fucking wall. It got to the point I didn't even want to be in college anymore. So I left Boston University, transferred home to Long Island University because now I took this massive weight of fees and tuition, because tuition there is an Ivy school, $60,000 a year. Didn't want to pay it. Yep. So I was I'll go home and I won't pay for college. went to LIU, basically paid nothing. And their gym, it was okay, but it's now it's even funnier because now I went from playing volleyball in high school, didn't play a year in college, and now I'm I need to be athletic again. What am I gonna do? I need something to calm me down. I'm too amped up all the time, and the gym's not cutting it. So I joined the equestrian team. So I started horseback riding, which I used to do as a kid, like whatever, not a big deal. And I was like, oh yeah, like I got this, like no problem. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was great. Like I learned so much, and I did this competitively. So every Sunday I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, heading out east to do shows, like ridiculous. But I knew I wanted to be really, really good, and that like at that moment was when I decided, all right, I'm going full blown in the gym. Like I am done half-assing it. Like I know how to work out. I've done it for a very long time. Let's give it a real shot. So I started doing that. And at the time I was with my ex-boyfriend and he was into CrossFit. Anybody who does CrossFit, good for you, not for me.
It's a cult, let's be honest.
It's a cult. It's not my thing. I'm not into it. I have tried. I'm like, you know what? There is way too much risk of injury here. It's not for me. Do I think people who do it have the most amazing endurance? Yes. The
Yep.
fact you can row for 40 minutes and not vomit your brains out, good for you. But so he was doing that. I was like, you know what? He's in pretty good shape right now. And I'm the kind of person who I look at somebody, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it better, or I'm going to be better. And so I started going to the gym 7 days a week. Didn't matter. Like, and I'm in school, so it's like whatever time I got out of class, like straight to the gym. And I started like playing around with my diet, and then I was going to the school gym, riding horseback riding, and I was like, you know what, I want to join a 24-hour gym. So I joined Export Fitness. I don't know if you guys have that out in Minnesota. And this is the first time I voluntarily allowed myself to get approached by a trainer, and they were like, listen, I really think I can help you out. And that's when I started doing the 6 meals a day. And it slowly like progressed into, okay, I've known how to train for a very long time. Like my whole family was athletic. Then, okay, I'm going to train and eat whatever I want, which is kind of like what a lot of people do. And then I was like, let me step it up one and like hit up, like do a trainer and see how it goes with the trainer. Worked with this trainer for, I don't know, like 6 months. He did my diet. Like we worked on my workouts. Not seeing like massive changes. I'm slimming down, but I'm not seeing like what I really want to see. So, and he was young. Like I definitely was like one of his first clients or whatever. So he ended up going back to school, and I was like, all right, now I'm trainerless. I moved houses, and I was like, okay, I want to get a gym closer to my house near the train station because now I got a job in the city, which is, by the way, I commute an hour and a half every day. So each way. So I commute 3 hours a day. So I wanted something like in near the gym, and Crunch just opened up, and I was like, "Oh, great gym! Let me try this gym. Like, fuck it, I love trying new gyms." Started at Crunch. I was approached by another trainer, and now the first time this guy approaches me, he's an older man. He's like 65, and he's just like, "You come in, you do your business, and you get out." He goes, "And I really want to help you. Like, I want to help you be the best possible version of you." So I was like, all right, like, and I had a free session. So I took the free session, liked what I saw, started working with him. We probably went on, now he did like keto with me. Okay. It's a great thing. It works for a certain amount of time. It does not work for a lifestyle change. Like you can't keep up with it forever. And I wasn't even like real keto. I wasn't doing a ton of fats. Like I wasn't eating bacon. I was clean eating keto. And then we decided, he was like, your body's like coming in really good. I started seeing again like more changes. Like I was lean, but I wasn't like shredded. I didn't look like I was stepping out onto a magazine and taking a photo shoot. I didn't even want to take photos with myself. Like I was just not about it. And he was like, I really think you should compete. Like let's pick a show. Picked a show, started, and immediately he puts me on Whitefish, and I'm like, no, this isn't gonna work. Like I'm 16 weeks out. There's no reason for me to be. I did all my own research, and I was already dieting and doing all this stuff. And at the exact same moment that like I started this prep, my first prep, I break up with my boyfriend of 7 years. My life hits a wall, like a total wall. We were living together. We had my entire life. We had a house together, everything, right? We were together a long time. And I literally pick up and I leave. Like I take my shit, I get my own apartment and move out. no fucking way am I doing a prep, trying to move out, get my life together, keep my job. I live 1,500 miles away from my family, so I have nobody here. It's just me. So I was in like this weird transitional state, and like I really had nothing to grasp, and I needed something tangible. And that's when I decided that I was going to balls to the wall go for a show, like a real one, like not half-assed, not do whatever. I put on a decent amount of size. Like I had these massive muscles. I wasn't shredded, but I was big. And then probably I went the whole summer. Like this was basically last year. I went the entire summer just dieting, like of all the different trainers I had, like playing with my diet, seeing what worked for me. And a very, very good friend of mine at Crunch, my new gym that I was at, he approached me and he's like, "Listen, I've been watching you for months." Now it sounds creepy, but it's not. He's like, "I've been watching you." He goes, "You have the physique to do figure." He goes, "I am going to do this prep for Easterns. I will do it with you. I will be there the entire time and do it with you." He's like, "I have a coach for you." He goes, "Contact him. If you want to do it, go for it." He goes, it's expensive. It's an expensive sport, but like, I really think you can do it. You have the mentality for it." So I contact this coach, right? My coach is Don Cardone. I love him. He tells me, he's like, "I'm not a big fan of like working with women." I get on the phone. I'm like, "Listen, I am balls to the wall about this. I am all in or all out. There's no, I have nothing in my life right now that is holding me back. I have no man. I have no family. I have nothing." He's like, "All right, so let's do it." And that was, I don't know, we were probably 16 or 17 weeks out at that point from Easterns, and I just dove right in. And from there, I haven't been able to let go. I mean, I've always loved the gym. I haven't taken, like, for probably for a while, I would say, like, during college, I took, like, a week off here, a week off there, because it's college, like, you don't give a shit. Probably, what are we in 2019, I graduated in 15. So almost 3 full years. I take 1 day, 2 days off a week. I travel, I still work out. I was just in Canada, I work out. I was in Utah, found a gym. I go home to Florida, I'm training the whole time. Like, it doesn't matter where I go, what I do, I find the time. And it's not that I want to be like, "Oh, look, like you can do it anywhere." It's more that if I don't do it, that mental release isn't there for me, and I get like built up, and I get stressed out. Like I can't, like my off days. If I didn't have to do cardio, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? And even now, I can't. I don't know how to live like a normal lifestyle. It's the craziest thing. Like people are like, "Oh, like don't you get tired of eating the same 5 things every day?" I'm like, I know what times I have to eat. I don't have to think about where my next meal's coming from. That's craziness, dude. Like if had to sit down and decide what am I going to eat for dinner 5 days a week, I'd probably blow my brains out.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do. But it's weird. It's so involved for me too, because like my family's always worked out. Like my uncle was a competitive bodybuilder. I never met him. He passed away before I was born. But the first time I picked up a weight, I was 3 years old. We had a gym in my house. And apparently, I was laying on the flat bench. I'm 3 years old, and I took like 5 pound dumbbells and started like bench pressing them. It was like perfect form. My dad took one look at me, and he looked at my mom, and my dad looked, and they looked at each other. And they're like, "Oh, she's your brother. Yeah, we got another bodybuilder coming." I never thought I would have competed ever. I never. And best part, I told you my friend was going to compete with me. 2 weeks into my prep, he goes, "Yeah, I can't afford it." Backs out of the prep. So now I am prepping all by myself. But I fell in love with not the competitiveness. Like, yes, I always was a sport person, and I always was very athletic. I mean, even now, I still snowboard all over the country. I'll horseback ride whenever I can. I don't like to run, so I don't do marathons. But the competitiveness wasn't so much about who's the girl next to me on stage. The competitiveness is like, I look in the mirror, I want to be better than the girl I was yesterday. And that's where my mind is. And that's where that competitiveness comes from. And then I go to the gym, and it's not that I am just lifting to lift. I'm lifting to learn. which is a big thing for me. I basically like that mind muscle connection, and I'm constantly researching. And I follow, oh my god, anybody that I follow on Instagram is most likely fitness related.
Hmm.
Anything that I watch on YouTube is fitness related. If I'm reading something, if it's not a fiction book, it's fitness related. Because I that thirst for knowledge and expanding my knowledge is so vast. I live for it. That's what I want to really do, and that's not even like what I do for work.
Yeah. And that's so awesome. I mean, I always love to say, I mean, that's why I love having our guests come on and share their stories, because everyone has their own unique story. But one of the questions that I love to ask as well is, I mean, if you were to walk into a gym with 100 people, there's 100 different ways as to how those people got into shape. I mean, whether it comes down to their diet, their nutrition, I mean, how many reps they do. I mean, there's so many little things that add up to the package that people end up seeing overall. Was that a struggle for you at first, sort of figuring out what worked best for your body? Because I always say, if you were to walk up to someone and say, like, what did you train for this body part? Like, it looks amazing. Like, what works best for them 99% of the time is not going to work as good for you.
Yes, exactly. So it took me probably, I would say, two solid years to figure out like what really worked. I used to like lifting heavy because I was like, I'm a beast. That's what I was always good at. I was always good at moving massive amount of weight for realistically no reason. But to get that shredded leanness, time under tension worked for me. That's real. And the weirdest part about that is my dad gave me these old school homemade videos of my uncle training. And I watched him and I'm like, we're built from the same genetic gene pool. Genetics are an amazing thing. I mean, you take two guys, like I'm sure you just saw the Arnold, like if
Yep.
you take Steve Larius and then George the Bull, two totally different genes. You're in the same class, but these guys are totally different looks. And so I was like, okay, my uncle has this genetic pool. I look just freaking like him. So let's try his way. And as soon as I started time under tension, I started to see massive, massive changes for me. And I personally like old school bodybuilding. That's the way I like to train. I don't like these super like 40 reps or super fast pace. Like that doesn't do anything for me. And I know if I just lift heavy, I just explode.
Mhm.
Like if I want, let's put it this way: since November, I put on 27 pounds.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and that was mostly just lifting
Mhm.
heavy, 8 to 10 reps, just not trying, like
Mhm.
not even trying to get big, just did it, just kind of like grew.
Wow.
Time under tension it's for me, it brings out those striations, it gives that muscle maturity. But I've trained some of my friends and it depends on the person. I know people that doing super fast speed 20 reps high weight works for them and they grow.
Yeah.
It's also it's so there's so many different things. Like if somebody like you take somebody with a super fast metabolism, okay, well, we're not going to do 15 reps with you. We're going to do 8 reps and go really heavy weight. And we're just going to rip those muscles. We're not even going to bother trying to like slowly build. We're just going to go for it. And I can look at somebody and know what training is going to work for them.
Yeah.
And for me, my own body, like my dad is 65. His whole life, he's trained. He's never weighed over like 230. He's 6'2". He always been in really, really good shape. Never trained legs a day in his freaking life. I started training legs with him straight up, just time under tension, slow, just like everything else that he's ever done. A lot of pause reps. His legs are like shredded. He's 65 years old and the guy's got shredded legs. I'm like, Dad, this is bullshit. And people are like, oh, what do you do? What does he do for his legs? And I was like, listen, he didn't start working them out till he's 65, so I couldn't tell you.
That just makes me straight up furious right now, where I'm just like, that is absolutely ridiculous. But that also leads me into one of my favorite questions that I love to ask, because like we were talking about, everyone's genetics are different. So everyone, when they get started in the gym, has one body part that really, really takes off, that they don't have to train as much. And then everyone always has that one body part that really just lags behind, that they have to train to overdrive. I'll give you mine first. I mean, For me, my back, just because I had jobs all throughout college where, I was like loading trucks or lifting, heavy stuff, that my
Yeah.
back, I mean, I can train back, like once a month and it would still look really, really good. I always say like, that's the only thing in me that looks like I could compete is like my back, but I'm also 6'3". So my legs, just like your dad, I mean, I do train legs though, but my legs are just shot to shit where I mean, like I have to train them into overdrive just to get any semblance, and I had that pitcher's body too, where, you had to be sort of like long and lean and
Yeah.
just lengthy. So yeah,
Like,
but what were those body parts for you when you were getting started?
so my absolute easiest thing to train and the thing that grew the fastest is my back. Just I always loved my back. I always thought it was the leanest part of me. And then once I just started training it and hitting it, I just saw I just grew, and I didn't even have to try. It was just it didn't matter what I did for back. I can do the same exercise every single week and I'll still grow. It's one of those body parts, and then the other, and maybe it's because I'm Italian. I don't know. My legs are massive, and like I just my genetic gene pool. My dad, big legs. My mom, big legs. And I played volleyball for what, if you total it, 12 years, 10 years, 12 years. Girls look at my quads and they're like, how? Guys look at my legs and they're like, what do you eat? What do you do? And I was like, no, I was a volleyball player. I'm gonna squat for fucking the whole time, and then I horseback rode, which is more on your legs. So everything I've ever done has been that. Those are the two things, like my legs, that just freaking grow. If I really didn't, if I wanted to just have them be massive, I just blow them up if I wanted. But I have to do cardio to keep them lean, and then they're still pretty big. And then I'd say my third body part that grew just easily was my arms, and that's also pretty much genetics from my dad. Everything else, my core, last thing to come in every freaking time. My chest took me 2 years to build, like to actually like to even get even muscle on there, like to lift more than just the bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and my shoulders take forever.
Yeah.
I've been working on my shoulders for 2 years straight. I hit them twice a week, and I hit them hard.
Yeah, that's one thing that we hear all the time. But my biggest pet peeve has got to be calves, because that is the number one genetic thing, where 95% of it, is genetic, and I am not blessed with those. And we've had people that come on here that have never worked calves a day in their life, and then it's just like,
I have massive calves. Yeah, I
yeah.
have baby calves. They're nice.
Mhm.
They're shapely. They're taking more shape. My dad, no, nobody in my family really, genetically speaking, has calves. So I hit calves twice a week, and I hit them hard, really hard. But they're starting to grow. I mean, I keep saying they're starting to grow. I've said that for like 3 years now. I don't know if they're growing.
Well, 3 years from now, we'll check in and we'll see if they're actually starting to grow then. But
I wear heels every day. They should
yeah,
grow.
that's the thing too, that I think that I always tell the women that have on. I was like, yeah, you guys kind of have an advantage, at least in that part, where you get to wear heels. That's sort of like a calf workout, just walking in those. But also, I mean, probably one of the biggest myths that I love to bust. I mean, probably the number. I mean, I ask this every single podcast, so if anyone just listens to one of these, I mean, just to get it out there. But it's gotten better the last 5 years. But with Instagram and all these other great social media sites, but there's still so many women that have that fear where, if they touch one weight, they do one curl, they do one, push up or anything, that they're just going to put on, 50 pounds of muscle. And, I always say to that, you'll become the first ever trillionaire, because everyone will want to, pay you to train them if that ever happened to you. But I know that you didn't have that fear when you were getting started, but what is your main response to that when you hear that from people just saying like, oh, like I want to work out, but I don't want to get like huge?
Well, yeah, I don't want to look like a man.
Yeah.
So I kind of go back to them with the same thing you said, and I do this to them. I go, okay, did that one piece of cake make you fat?
Mhm.
No, right? It's all in moderation. If you train to get big, it doesn't happen overnight. If you're lifting massive amount of weight for a long period of time, yes, you're going to get large, right? But if you train for your body type and for what you're looking for, you're not going to get huge. You're going to get toned. Now, my sister is a perfect example. Perfect. She is 5'7", 87 pounds, or sorry, 90. I'm probably about 100 pounds now. 100 pounds soaking wet. She's pretty lean and tiny. Lifts weights like 5 pounds. For months, I've been telling her, you got to add mass. Like, you don't. You got to do it. You're a little too thin, sweetheart. And now she finally got back to me and like she's like, okay, write me out a diet plan and write me out a workout plan. I want to add mass, but I don't want to look like a dude. That's what she says to me. And I go, how long did it take you to get this tiny? And it doesn't reverse in 3 days. It doesn't happen that way. And I say that to people and I'm like, listen, if you see any of my cheat meals, I don't get fat the next day. I was like, and if you've seen all my progression photos, I didn't grow overnight. It took me years to do. There's guys who have been working out 10 years and can't grow.
Mhm.
So I usually just go back to them and I educate them and they ask me, well, what did you do and how did you look? How do you look this way? How do you get to this point? I was like, listen, it's years in the making. Years. I get off diet. I'm not going to grow the right way. I'm going to hold fat in the wrong places. Like you can just see it. You know, like I at least know it. And some people they don't. And it's understandable because to the layman or anybody who really just doesn't do their research, they just assume everything's instant. And that's because we live in the instant generation. We see, and I see it all the time. All the time. I see girls 30-day transformation. That's fucking bullshit.
Mhm.
That wasn't 30 days. That's about a year. And if it was 30 days, as fast as you took it off, as fast as it's coming back on.
Mhm.
And these girls who are like, yeah, I just want to lose like 4 pounds for like 2 weeks from now. Okay, and then you're gonna have a sip of water, and it's all gonna come back.
Mhm.
So, and I educate. And I have a lot of girlfriends who they always said the same thing. They were always like, I don't want to get huge, and and again, Instagram and all it's all intertwined because it makes these women look so big. Like I know my Instagram makes me look massive. My mother for weeks, you're too big. You're too big. Well, call me from Florida. You're too big. What are you doing? When I showed up home in November and she hugged me, she goes, "Where did you go? You're so small." She's like, "But your photos don't look like that." I go, "I know because I'm not comparatively standing next to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not that big of a person."
Yeah.
And women also, and people tend to forget, like these photos that you see of these massive girls, you look like that, especially if they're competitors. You look like that for a week. You don't look like that.
That is, I'm going to save that though, because that's one of my favorite questions that I like to ask. I'll ask that a little bit later on. But yeah, I always say to some of these guys who are like, yeah, some of these girls are like really intimidating. And I always say, well, no, they're not to me because like you said, like if you were to meet them in person, most of them are not, they're not that tall. And, the muscle that they have, is a lot in photos. So like I go up to them and I was like, I'm almost a foot taller than almost all these people. Like if I went up and met them. So it's like no big deal. But yeah, it's just the illusion that comes around with Instagram. And for the myth, I always love to say, I mean, probably my favorite story with that is that when I was in college, getting bigger and stronger, one of my really good friends, she came up to me and she said, I'm I see that you're working out and getting bigger and stronger. I want to come to the gym with you, but I'm just afraid I don't want to get too bulky. And I finally told her, I said, look, the amount of weight that you carry in your purse when we go to the gym or when we go out to get something to eat or when we go out to clubs weighs more than 90% of the dumbbells in the gym. And you're not getting an ounce of muscle from lugging that thing. I mean, she had a really heavy purse. I don't know if she had like a dead body in there or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I always say that. And I always told her, I was like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen to you? But the biggest thing that I love to talk about, because I think it impacts women, especially so much more than it does men positively from the gym, is the confidence boost that it gives you. I mean, some guys, they walk into the gym and they act like they own the place. Let's just be honest. But with the women, I mean, that confidence boost can be so huge. And it's one of those things you can take from working out and it can impact everything in your life. How has that confidence boost really impacted your life from your training and from your working out?
So I would probably say a couple years ago when I first started getting noticed in the gym, right, because of my work ethic. Like I was one of those people, I was the girl who had her headphones up. I didn't come to bullshit. Never did. That's not my purpose in the gym. I didn't come to talk. And once I started getting like asked a lot of questions and my confidence went up a little bit. Not to the point like I would look at other girls and I'd be like, okay, like what are they doing? I want to kind of look like them. Like what always watching and trying to keep a low profile. Probably in the last year, my confidence, and I'm not going to even lie, went through the roof. Once I switched gyms again, because now I'm a member of 3 gyms. I went to Bev Francis Powerhouse.
Oh, yep.
Everybody knows Bev's.
Mm-hmm.
Kept my hood up for a while. Like I kept very low profile. My very good friends, they go there and they're like, people asking about you. People are looking around about you. Like, who are you? What's your deal? Yeah. And that gave me a massive confidence boost. Especially once I stepped on stage, I I never thought I would do as well as I did. Like in the back of my head, like I kind of thought I did, but I'm never gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm getting first. Like that's not the kind of person I am. It translated to the rest of my life. Like my office, they look at me and they don't want anything to do with me because they're like, yeah, you got like as my friends like to say it, big dick energy.
Yeah.
Like I just scream this person who come at me. Nothing you do is going to affect my life. And I've been so me, myself, and I for now a full year, right? Like I live on my own apartment. I don't owe anybody anything. And that confidence, like I go into the gym, I train by myself, or even if I train with my friends or I have a training partner when I train with them, they say it. They go, you take the room. That confidence it's given me that I don't give a shit about what anybody else thinks. The only thing I ever give a shit about is if I'm standing on stage, what those judges think of me.
Yeah.
And even then, if they don't like it, I'm like, okay, well, I like me, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. And that is so important to have in this sport because there's so many stories that we've heard, just about the self-consciousness that it can bring where you just think that, your results really determine your value as a human being. Where I mean, it's so great to hear that, but I always love to say, what was your first prep like? Because for a lot of people out there, they don't understand. That's why I like to have this podcast to try to educate them that just to be able to get into shape, to go into a prep takes so much hard work and determination, dedication that people don't realize that. But then going on a prep, that is just notching things up to a whole different level where it comes to, like you said, your timed eating. You got to eat, your proper amount of food. You got to have everything prepped. I mean, you got to get all of your workouts done. You have to it's just everything just becomes so scientific. What was that experience like for you? Was it just a big shock to your system?
Not even close. I actually did, as I said, I was in a I basically did a pre-prep for a year for my prep. I was already eating 6 times a day prior to my prep. I was working out 7 days a week, just doing my workouts, doing what I wanted, trying to stay relatively lean. And like summer, so what was last year was 18. Summer of 17, I looked bomb, right? And I was eating well and doing what I was supposed to do. I was going out to dinner once a week. The last all of 2018, I was just on point with my diet. I was always eating 6 times a day, even if it wasn't like the best meal, right? Like if I had a cheat meal twice a week, I wasn't killing myself over it because I wasn't in a prep. But I was always hitting the gym. Like I I literally went 48 days straight to the gym once. Just because I could, just because I literally could. Like this wasn't even in my prep. Like this was just I wanted to do it, so I did it.
Yeah.
And pretty interesting. Like so, when I went into my prep, I was already mentally there. I was ready to have anything thrown at me, and it wasn't. The one thing that I think not even shocked me, but like that just annoyed the shit out of me was the cardio because I am not a cardio bunny. I don't enjoy it. My Instagram always says I'm paying dues because literally it is like somebody is pulling money out of my checking account and paying rent with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is not enjoyable for me. Do I love the results? Yes.
Yep.
Do I love doing it? Hell no. That was really the hardest part, especially because I work in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So getting up at 4:45 in the morning to do fasted cardio before I went to work and then came home, trained, and did cardio after my workout, and then got home. And then I was home I left the house every day, or I'd be up every day at 4:45. I didn't walk in the door till 10 o'clock at night every day.
Jeez. Well, one of the that also brings up a question that I love to ask because I mean I had the number one sleep specialist on the planet on for a podcast really early on. I mean, he called us from the UK. He was at Oxford, and first of all, he had one of those British accents where you just felt like you gained 10 IQ points just from talking to him. Just because. So I even told him I was like, "You're going to talk this entire podcast because it's like a brain workout just hearing you talk." But how would you deal with the fact that, I mean, if you are getting, only like 6 hours of sleep a night, what were some ways that you were still able to motivate yourself to be able to get up on time? Because I know for me, if I were to go, like 3 days of getting up at 6 hours a time, I'm just groggy and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Is it all just a mind game for you where you're just able to convince yourself like, this is a goal for me. So you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's really what it came down to. Like, so it's kind of, I guess I'm so used to like setting my mind to something. Like if I wanted to snowboard, right, I used to chase these crazy storms. So I'd be up every hour on the hour checking snow reports. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, yo, New Hampshire got blasted with a storm, jump in the truck, 6-hour drive, let's go. And just do it. So when it came to getting up, And realistically, I only probably slept like 4 hours a night. 6 hours is a good night. Like
Jeez.
that's a lot of rest for me.
Are you
um,
just pumped full of like caffeine basically then?
I mean, yes, I drink a lot of coffee, like
Yeah.
a ton. Like if I have like 4 cups a day is like a slow day. That's slow.
Yeah.
I mean, I drink a gallon plus of water, so that helps too. But um, it was more that like maybe it sounds weird to somebody else outside of like me,
Mhm.
but like when I was with my ex, like I never wanted to get out of bed. Right, we lived together, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna roll around in the bed in the morning at
Mhm.
like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'm not getting out of bed. Like I'm comfortable. I wake up with nobody now. I'm not staying in bed for the freaking pillows. No, I'm getting up and doing shit. 4:45, the alarm goes off. Boom. I'm already the night before I fall asleep in my gym shit. So all I gotta do is put my shoes on and go.
Yeah.
That mentality of like having to do everything and get so much done in the day, it's so fulfilling for me because my job sucks. So like I get no fulfillment out of that. Like I don't go to work. I'm like, yes, I did this today. No, I get up. I'm like, fuck, I did half an hour of cardio this morning. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna train. I'm gonna train the shit out of my body, and then I'm gonna do 40 minutes cardio tonight. My whole day is full. Oh
Yeah.
wait, and then I'm gonna meal prep and do all the other
Mhm.
stuff that I have to do.
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally understand that with the job. Now, I'm not gonna say where I work, so anyone out there, so my job doesn't say like, oh, he doesn't like his job or whatever. But yeah, yeah, I totally get that. But one of the biggest things that I think the general public, if you were to poll, they would never guess is that for a lot of these competitors, and something that I really found fascinating when I started this podcast, is that for so many of these competitors, posing is the hardest thing for them. I mean, it is harder than the nutrition. It's harder than the working out. I mean, there's so many things that people would think would be harder than posing, but for so many of these competitors, posing is the end all when it comes to just the toughness
Yes.
that it can be. How has your experience been like with posing? Because I always say, like, you can be a great driver, you can never be a perfect driver. Same thing goes with posing. You can be a great poser, you can never be a perfect poser. It's always ever evolving.
Posing is the hard. Well, okay, it is one of the hardest because after you do it the first time, it obviously gets easier. Um, Posing, I can tell you straight out, and this is as honest as I can be to anybody. I have sweat more in the posing room than I have during for an hour than I have during my hardest intensity workouts. Posing takes it's not just mental, it's breathing, it's balance. Women, you're in heels if you're doing figure big or bikini. Also, let's not mention you're like 98% naked.
Yep.
So posing it's a whole nother game, and smiling and doing it and trying to pose it's hard. And I didn't even do group posing, I did one-on-one posing. So like if I messed up, oh, I got reamed out for it. My posing coach is amazing, I love her, she's sick. But it's hard. It's no joke. And if you're the first time going into it, I'm not even kidding. I'm the kind of person that I like to watch something. I'll watch it 2, 3 times and I'll get it. I must have watched 40 times and just couldn't wrap my head around it. Like I was so frustrated. I left mad because I couldn't. I'm like, what is the difference between the open class and the lineup? I like couldn't understand any of this. I had no idea. I mean, and I've watched shows. I've been to shows, and she's like, well, you have your individual routine and then you have your lineup routine. I'm like, what? Like, what's the difference? I'm like, couldn't wrap my head around this. Like, I mean it. I probably left so angry the first 2 times after posing class. I was like, I was ready to just throw in the towel. I was like, fuck this. But it's it really you're you're perfecting your craft. You're presenting yourself, and people, yeah, you can go to the gym, have a hoodie up and do it. You can put in all the work. You can do the diet. If you get on stage and can't pose, forget it. You're literally basically taking a present and just throwing it at somebody. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And then especially as females, then you got the hair and
Yep.
and everything, and like a little sass, and then now you're competing with all these other women. Now you have to bring something to the table they haven't seen. You have to make yourself stand out. I mean, I don't know if I'm fortunate because I had like I my posing coach the first time, she goes, those aren't your eyes, and I was like, these are my eyes. I don't wear contacts. I don't wear glasses. Like, these are them. She goes, well, great. You're born with something people can see.
Yeah.
So, like, I was given some, like, I basically death stared the judges first time. And I just, like, gave them every last ounce of my blue eyes that I could. And I'm like, look, here's me. Like, notice me. And, like, I'm doing that while posing and trying not to pass out
Yep.
because you are depleted as shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a lineup with all these other women, and then your pose might not exactly be what the girl next to you is doing, and you have to know, or at least if you have a coach, like I had a coach, we picked the sides that worked best for me. We picked the looks that looked best for me. You're basically morphing yourself and pushing your image out to somebody else and change, like, you're presenting it that you're almost like false advertising. You're hitting angles so they can see something that either you're hiding something or exposing something else. It's wild. It's all like eye games, and it's sick. Posing's hard. Posing is no joke. But the one thing that did help is I pose in between my sets all the time. I don't give a shit if people think I'm nuts.
No, yeah,
Like,
posing is one of those things. Like I said, most people don't realize, but it's like, yeah, you have to flex, basically everything. It has to be in tune, and a lot of people don't realize these bodybuilders get sometimes more of a workout just posing than they do than their actual workouts, just because of how tired it can make you. But what is your favorite pose to do, and what is your least favorite pose to do?
My favorite pose, my favorite pose is probably my back lat spread, just because when I do it, and especially because, like, I see my photos from stage, and I had like this crazy quad sweep, and then with my back, like, my shoulders are so in line with my quads, and I'm tooting my own horn here, but I'm symmetrical, like, I'm genetically symmetrical.
Looking at her photos on Instagram, people, I can agree with that.
So, yeah, I'm very symmetrical. And so from the back, that was my favorite pose. Least favorite pose, my front pose. Yeah. I just don't like it. I don't like how my chest separates. I don't like, my core gets lost, which I don't like. Yeah, that's my least favorite pose. But realistically, we got 4 poses in figure. That's really it. And we don't do the bikini butt thing, so I couldn't even tell you that. And then when I did my individual might be a very close second, and the shot didn't come out great. Like, I didn't even know that I was getting photographed. Like, my friends took them and sent them to me. But what side is it? She likes my right side. Yeah, she likes my right side because I don't have any tattoos on my right side, so it doesn't hide anything. My whole left side's basically covered. But that's my close second. And I think because it makes my shoulders look so broad, and it makes my waist look so tiny. Dead on, it looked really, like, it looks good from when I open up to the side. But other than that, no, definitely the back pose. That's my favorite. But I've always loved back.
Yeah, and what I always say with the back pose too, I mean, you don't have to be smiling. You can kind of let yourself relax for a little bit. You can kind of, let that gut out a little bit. You don't have to be like sucking in too much. So yeah, that's one thing that we hear all the time. But now, I mean, I'm one of the palest people you'll ever meet. I mean, being from the upper Midwest, I mean, I don't get any sunlight really up here, where it's just, I've never been tan a day in my life. I either get, farmer's tan, which, let's be honest, that's not a real tan, or I just get burnt to an absolute crisp. What is that experience like for you when you get to put that tan on? Because we hear everyone, just talk about, like, you see muscles that you never even knew that you had. Everything really seems to pop out. What is that experience like for you when you get all tanned up and you get to see, all that hard work?
So it's interesting. So I mean, first, the best suggestion to anybody, if you're a competitor, go tanning and not spray tanning. Go bed tanning for a while, like probably like a solid month before you step on stage. Because if you literally go, if you're as white as you are, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty white. I've been in the tanning bed for a while, off season as well. It's a total drastic difference, and like, you're not expecting it, and the tan looks kind of funny. But once I got that tan, 2 things. My team, I had a team. My team tanned me. You are literally completely naked. Like, you need some serious body. You can't body shame yourself. I'm standing there.
You need that big dick energy, basically.
That big dick energy got real small when you're standing there with your hands hands against the wall, bent over, and you have somebody underneath your ass like tanning you because you're basically in a thong. Like
Yeah.
the first coat that I got, not even joking, I immediately went to the bathroom, took a snap of myself, sent it to my entire girlfriend group. I was like, guys, this is sick. Like, look at me. And they're like, why are you so like orange and dark looking? And I gave them the whole reason of why.
Yeah.
And they like some of my friends didn't even know I was competing. Like I didn't say a word. And then I got the second coat and I did all my comparison photos and I was like, I wish I looked like this year round. Like this is amazing. But the experience of getting tanned was unique.
Yeah.
I'm laughing like a hyena the entire time because and she's like, "Girl, nothing I haven't seen before." And it's like, not the point. The best part of this entire story, by the way. So it's in a hotel room, right? We're getting tanned, or I'm getting tanned, and now it's like it comes in session. So I'm supposed to get tanned and get dried. Somebody else is supposed to get tanned and then they dry. I'm standing by the vent and the fan, naked. They totally forget that I'm in the room. Totally forget. Somebody knocks, opens the door. It's another male competitor, and I'm standing ass naked, like tits out, ass out, doesn't matter. And we go to the same gym. He looks at me, and I'm like, "Hi," and then she's like, "Oh my god, I forgot you were in here." She's like scooting him along, and he's like. I was like, I can't. This is too funny. I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm basically naked on stage anyway. So here we go. Like this is how it starts.
And that's, I mean, we hear so many stories like that where and that was my number one shocking thing that I never knew was that basically they had you naked when you got tan for these shows. That's the one thing when I heard that I was like, wait, what? Like, are you serious? But yeah, I've learned so much from that. But that is probably the most shocking thing that I've heard. But the question that I love to ask everyone, I mean, whether they be my up and coming bands, musicians, or bodybuilders, or anyone else that I have on for my bands, I always like to ask, what is that like performing on stage in front of thousands of people, to hundreds of people? But that also applies to the bodybuilders. What is that like for you when you get to step on stage and show off all of that hard work that you've worked months upon months, or years upon years, I should say, of just all that hard work and dedication, just going through a prep which can be a living hell for so many people? What is that feeling like for you when you finally get to step on stage and show off all of that hard work?
Oh my god, it was so fast. It was like 30 seconds of being on stage, so it was so quick. I think it wasn't even about the stepping on stage. I had a support, or a semi pretty good support system. I had a bunch of friends come out, and people who haven't seen me in a while, or people who didn't really know how much was really underneath the hood. And my dad came, and my uncle came, and two of my really close friends came. And standing on stage, I just remember standing there, and I heard my dad's whistle. By the way, he can whistle anywhere, and I'll hear. If he's in Florida right now, if he whistled, I'd hear him. I just hear him yelling my name and whistling and in my head I'm like, you know what, I did this for I did it for my dad. He lost his brother the year before I was born, and I stood up on stage and I felt just so comfortable. I wasn't nervous. I was smiling ear to ear. People, my friends asked me, they're like, have you ever stepped on stage before? I was like, listen, yeah, I performed when I was a kid. I love the spotlight. Stripping down and seeing all those muscles and seeing everything, that hard work, it's almost surreal. You spend so many hours and days and months training for realistically 5 minutes, for a 5-minute thing. And it's bittersweet because you don't want it to end, and you don't want you don't want to do poorly. I mean, the fact that I got second in open and novice, my first show ever in the biggest show of the year on the East Coast, speaks astronomical numbers. I'm a nobody, and that did a lot for me. When I first stepped on stage and they didn't move me because I was already in the center, that moment I was like, not that I was like, this is in the bag. I was like, wow, everything I have done for the last few months is right. I have been doing it right. That's what was so important to me. That feeling. I didn't give a shit standing in front. I mean, yeah, I give a shit standing in front of the judges, but it wasn't for anybody besides me and my dad, basically. And that feeling, it just goes by so fast, which is like so hard. And then even the harder part, like most people are like, yeah, I'm looking forward to the meal in between prejudging and
Mhm.
finals. I didn't get to have a cheat meal. I got chicken and rice. So all these competitors are eating burgers, and I'm standing there like picking at my rice and my chicken, which is fine. Like I don't, it was worth it. Like I don't care. Afterwards, I ate out like a pig. Like,
Mhm.
but that I don't even, I guess like the closest feeling for me, at least, is like almost like a happy, nervous, giddy feeling when I'm snowboarding and I look down a trail, and it could be a cliff, it could be a tree run, it could be whatever. I don't know if I'm gonna like get injured. I don't know. It's that edge of control, that edge, like it's such a fine line. Like it can go any way, and it's that giddy, happy, nervous thing
Mhm.
that people get, and I get that. Um, it's I it's one of those feelings you just can't pinpoint it directly, but it's when I feel it, like I feel it like almost in the center of my chest, like right under my rib cage is like where I feel it. And my dad, my friend said it too. Like they said they're like you just have an essence about you when you're on stage. They're like we all saw it. Like you're home. Like you're so almost confident
Mhm.
and strip it wasn't even about stripping down to the bare but I thought I looked better the next day.
Mhm.
Like most competitors do because you're a little fuller, that you're supposed to have a different look on stage. It wasn't about stripping down to the absolute leanest that I can be. I think I stepped on stage like 6.5% body fat or maybe seven, something pretty low. I mean, and you lose a lot of it with the tan, so you can't see all the veins, and veins don't win shows.
Mhm.
You know, photos don't do it justice because you lose so much of the body in photos.
Mhm.
So it was more it was more that just okay, this is the finish line that I'm walking through, but it's not even a finish line, it's a mile marker.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's kind of the thing for
Yeah.
me. It's just it was unreal is the best way to say it. Like I woke up the next morning and I was like, okay, I'm ready to step back on stage. Oh wait, I already did that.
Yeah.
Like crap.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, I always say it's like it's so important to find that thing in your life that you really just love that much and or just that passionate about, and just stick with it because we're only on here for such a short amount of time. So just find what you love and just do it. But we were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned that I bring it up later. But the most important question that I ask, because it is another huge myth that a lot of people just don't realize, is that so many people believe that that stage look that these competitors present is sustainable. Like it is that they're going to be able to look like that 365 days out of the year. This the general public. Like I've had so many friends come up to me and say like, "Hey, I love watching your podcast, but I was just surprised. Like I thought these people work their butts off for this amount of time. I thought that they were able to keep that look and that they could just just keep competing just at like that look. And a lot of people just don't realize that you are going to have to put on weight. I mean, you've manipulated your body through all of the working out and through all of the dieting into a look that you're not going to be able to keep. Was that a struggle for you, just figuring out that like, hey, I am going to have to put on weight. I am not going to be able to look this lean and shredded. And has it evolved? Has it gotten easier for you as time's gone on?
Yes, so I stepped on stage in November, and I realistically wanted to stay. When I first started my entire prep, I was like 153, 153 pounds. I stepped on stage 126.8 or 127, something like that. I don't really know. I didn't bring the scale with me to the hotel, so I lost the last 2 days of weight. So 126, 127 is where I know I sat. Um, Coming off stage, I said to myself, I don't want to be more than 145 pounds. That's what I knew. I knew I had to put on weight. I knew I wasn't going to stay that lean. Like it just, I knew how much work it took to get that shredded, and it's such a short amount of time. So I knew people were telling me too. They're like, you don't stay stage lean. I was like, well, I'd be dead because I can barely walk. I mean, I was fine realistically. I didn't really have any issue. I wasn't dehydrated or anything. I was fine when I got on stage, but I knew you couldn't sustain that. And I'm a figure competitor. I'm not a bikini girl, so I don't naturally sit very small and lean. And I knew I was going to get softer, and I was okay with it for about, I don't know, I'd say 2 months. Once the scale tipped past 142, my head went into the ground. I was like, no, nah. I amped up my workouts. I mean, I was still off season with my coach. Like I never stopped training with my coach. He still gave me all my diet, all my everything I needed. He's like, you're gonna keep growing. Then the scale tipped 150. I'm like, no, freaking out. Now, when I'm saying freaking out, like I usually generally like to train like in a t-shirt or like in spandex. I am covered head to toe. I don't even want to look in the mirror. I'm avoiding every mirror that I can. If I don't have to take progress photos, I'm not doing it. Like I was avoiding everything. I hated how I looked, but I knew you got to eat to grow. If I want to grow my shoulders, if I want to grow the things I need to grow, I have to do this. Up until about 3 weeks ago, until we changed my diet again, I was still like, I felt like I was like extended. Like I felt just huge. My knees started to hurt. Like just because I was carrying, I hit like 153 and 154, and I was like, I don't think I can get bigger. Like I just don't think I can do it. And reminder, I was about 160 3 years ago. So I'm like, how did I do this then? How was I comfortable? Now I'm just all muscle, so it hurts.
Yeah.
2 weeks have gone by. I'm down into the 140s again right now. So I'm pretty happy. But for a very short time period, I don't want to say that I hated myself, because I don't hate myself. It was more that I just didn't want to see something, because it felt like I wasn't doing anything right, even though I was doing everything right. I knew I was putting on the decent mass. I was putting on what I needed to put on it. My shoulders grew, my legs grew, my hamstrings grew. Everything I needed to grow grew. I mean, my calves are still growing, and I still had abs, which is weird, because genetically, I never really thought I was inclined to have abs. But ever since my last prep, I basically kept them. Not as tight, nearly, not even close. But it was a struggle. It was like my friends, like I would joke, even though I wasn't really joking, and they're like, "Oh, like you look amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, I look fat as fuck." And they're like, "What?" Somebody said something to me that stuck with me very hard, and this is where I started to have a lot of comfort in like being that big. I still look better than 98% of the population,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing something in training, and but I'm more active than 98% of the population. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Like my friends will joke, unless they're joking with me. That's the only time I'll like actually bring up my weight, or if I'm asked about it. Like in the office the other day, we had to do something, and they asked me my weight, and I turned around, I was like 150. He goes, "Stop lying to me." And I'm like, I go, "No, I weigh 150 pounds." And my coworker actually went to my show, and he happened to be standing in the room, and he goes, "Nope, she's all muscle. She's not lying." And he goes, "You hold 150 really well." And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, God, please, if you saw me at 130, this would be a different story, buddy. I mentally have trained myself to not let things bother me, and mostly because I know in my head that if my cortisol levels go out of control, I'm not going to do well, and I can't. And I've preached to people, you just let weight is always going to fluctuate. It's going to come off. It's going to come on. Like you're going to put it on. You're going to take it off. Like if you want it bad enough, it's fine. And the second time around is always easier. Muscle has memory. The body remembers. Like I've been amping up my cardio. The body remembers. It doesn't forget all the shit that I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm okay. Like mentally, I think for a while I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I was just so against it, and then realizing, okay, I actually don't look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't look nearly as
Yeah.
fat as I think I do.
Yeah, and that's one thing I always say to the guests. I always say, like, yeah, you do look better than 99% of the people that on the entire planet. And I mean, I always say too, it's just like starting a business. You got to spend money if you want to make money. You got to put on weight if you want to put on some muscle. I mean, that's just one of the most important things. But two of the questions that I love to ask to every guest that we have on for that are health and fitness or bodybuilders. I mean, for the first one, for me, one of the things that I realized, when I was going to college and working out and getting bigger and stronger, there's so many positive things. The one negative thing though is that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. I mean, I'm still at home with my parents for the next couple of months before I move out, and every single time they come home with groceries, I mean, I'm basically lifting the cart into the driveway. Have you found that to be a similar experience where people take one look at you and they just assume that you can do favors for them?
So no, and the reason being is I've had a pickup truck for 4 years now. This is my second truck. Oh, it's my third truck. I had a Jeep in between my
Mhm.
two pickups. People always ask me to move shit when I had my first pickup.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't get asked to. So the girls in the office do ask me to lift the paper and do the water, which is fine because
Mhm.
I don't mind. So I actually know I can lift a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't get asked a lot, which
Yeah.
is I also think because most of my friends are bodybuilders.
Mhm.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Mhm.
Like I like hang out with all my big guy friends, and I'm like the pipsqueak, and
Yeah.
they like their muscles are literally like the only thing I've got going for me is my quads are bigger than their bicep,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Yeah. No, yeah, I always gotta say, yeah, a lot of times if you hang out with those, yeah, if you hang out with that group, yeah, you're not gonna normally get asked too much. But for me, I always say it's like a double edged sword because like being 6'3", I could have zero muscle at all, and people would just say, "Oh yeah, tall guy can do it."
Can you reach
So
that? Yeah.
yeah, well, oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, I mean, I always say, yeah, it's just one of those things that you have to, that really just comes with the territory where you just realize that. But now, my favorite question to ask, I mean, out of any questions that I'll ask you, and again, this is a multi-million-dollar idea for anyone out there. But when it comes to clothes for fit women, I mean, I always say fit guys have their own problems, but fit women, I mean, I always say, your clothing options can be very, very limited. Like I always say, if you have big shoulders, dresses aren't your best friend. Jeans are another thing that we hear of all the time. Where if you have a big lower body and a small waist, jeans are not made for that. What have been some ways that you have found, and especially, like you said, working in the city? I mean, you're not going to be able to like wear gym clothes. What have been some ways that you've found that you're able to compensate for the fact that your clothing options can be limited?
Um, I'm not that big of a girl, so I like to say I wear a medium. Depending on the brand, I'm a smaller medium. So I don't really have that large of an issue finding clothes. Again, I've been built for a while. I've always had large legs. And I've always had like a really tiny waist. Like my bone structure on my waist is small. My mother likes to tell me I have a J Lo ass, so I've always had a big butt, and I always have big legs. So I've always had to get bigger jeans for my legs, and then always wear a belt, or I have to get really stretchy jeans. Seven jeans are really good for that. And realistic, you know what? I hate saying it, like not that I hate saying it, but Fashion Nova, they make it for curvy women. Work clothes, I stick to just regular like blouses. I don't do crazy patterns. I think I look ridiculous in stripes. That's not my thing. Fitness clothes, I've checked out multiple brands. Like any you name it, I've tried it. Like I mean, I'm a big fan of leggings from Do You Even. One of my favorite brands of all time is this brand. It's basically fucking gym wear, FKN gym wear. And they come out, and don't get me wrong, extremely expensive. I mean, $90 for a pair of leggings. That's why I only own two of them. But their stuff fits me like just just perfect. Like their shirts, I find I try not to wear like I try not to wear those like sleeves that stop halfway between the shoulder and the bicep. They just make me look terrible. That's just not for me. I rather go full cut off, or I'll go with like I won't wear. I mean, I guess I don't really wear stringers. Like they're not. I don't think they're appealing for anybody. Um, Truthfully, any fitness woman who doesn't want to spend a lot of money, and I'm not gonna lie, TJ Maxx. Just go to their fit aisle. There's thousands of shirts. You can pick one that you like. Like, I mean, I get stuff from Nike and Under Armour, and there's a clothing brand that I absolutely adore. And they don't make the most flattering T-shirts sometimes, but the material is amazing. And like, they're just regular T-shirts. Like, they come down to like the middle of the bicep, called Super Fresh. They're very about the fitness industry, and like they basically have like all cartoons like flexing, which is sick. So I have people who know my Instagram, like I have a Winnie the Pooh shirt, and Winnie the Pooh is like picking up a shirt and shredding. Yeah, it's really really funny.
Yeah.
And they do like slogans and
Yeah.
stuff, but I've never ran into okay, dresses. That's one thing. I go with the long sleeves
Mhm.
because I find that like at least the long sleeves will suck it in and make it look like I'm like super hard looking.
Mhm.
I had to go to a wedding a week before my prep.
Ooh.
A week.
Mhm.
First of all, I was dying because oh my god, the food looked so amazing, and I'm sitting there with literally chicken and asparagus out of my container at the wedding. My girlfriends are laughing and pissing themselves, and
Mhm.
I'm like, you know what? Forget all of you.
Yeah.
um, picking dresses can tend to be hard. Um, but I find that if I don't get flustered and frustrated, I can find something that is flattering to my proportions. I it's so hard because so many women are built so many different ways, and I've changed body shapes over the years so many times. So it's there's not like a particular dress brand. Like I like White House Black Market. I just always like their stuff. Like their pants always fit me great. In my prep, even though I lost 20 pounds, like they fit me 20 pounds heavier, they fit me 20 pounds lighter. I had to wear a belt, but they fit. Um, a lot of straight leg stuff for work. I if I could live in fitness clothes, I probably would. But I don't mind. Like I actually enjoy getting dressed up once in a while. Like I like seeing different looks. Like I'll do an off the shoulder look, just knowing that my shoulders are now built. Most my biggest advice to any woman is if there's a body part you really like, right? So some women love their legs. They'll wear skirts. You won't find me dead. I couldn't tell you the last time I went out in a skirt. Like hate them. Hate them. I just think I look dumb in them. But I love my back. Ask me how many open bodysuits I have, open back bodysuits. Totally. I got like 10 of them. I like very low cut in the front things to like accentuate my waist, to make my waist look really tiny, make my shoulders look a little broader. I go out in that, no issue. Like I feel great. If you're confident about that body part, accentuate it and use it for you. If you love your shoulders, wear something to expose your shoulders. You love your legs, same idea. I don't cater to the everyday look of what a woman should wear or shouldn't wear. I love boots. Like so
Mhm.
I'll wear boots a lot. Or I love my Tims. Like I'll go out in jeans and Tims.
Mhm.
No problem. And I'll throw on like a sweatshirt, like of some sort. It's shopping, I don't I think because like it just in general as women, any size, either being fit or not fit, no woman wants to go jean shopping because you feel like crap about yourself because now what a two is like a double zero, right? And I made the dumb mistake of shopping right after my prep to go out. Guess what? Guess who can't fit in those clothes? I can't.
Yep.
I bought them to go out right after my prep. Can't fit them. It's like depressing. It's almost depressing. I'm like, oh my god, why did I buy them? I can't fit them anymore. Like I bought them for what, a week?
Yeah.
Like what was I thinking? But I don't think I've ever. There's not a lot of things that I'll say like I avoid. I like slim fitting clothes.
Mhm.
Like I'm not like I love sweatshirts. I probably have 400 sweatshirts for absolutely no reason. But yeah, slim fitting, like light, 100% cotton is what I really go for. And then gym clothes. Oh my! I have anything and everything. I've tried it all.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that I haven't.
Well, and again, I say for anyone out there who's looking, to make some easy money, I mean, say design your own fitness clothes that really fit for like every woman and every guy, because there's so many people on the show that I've had that would just die to have it. So again, anyone out there, definitely look into that. But I also want to talk about, you've been to so many places. If everyone just looks at your Instagram, I mean, she has been traveling all over. How have you always been someone who's always, just had that wanderlust, to travel and to just find new places, or has it been something that you just realized recently, like, hey, I can really go and explore all these different areas?
I have to thank my ex. We're still good friends. He was a massive, massive traveler. He was born in Russia, moved here when he was 13. He's been to Egypt. He's been to basically all over Europe. I mean, the train system over there is amazing. So he's been to France and Italy and all these beautiful places. When we first started dating, so over 7 years ago, the first trip he wanted to take me to was Maine. He's like, "Oh, we do a snowboarding trip in Maine." I didn't. First of all, I tried snowboarding, wasn't really good at it. Um, Started doing it with him and fell in love with snowboarding. I mean, don't get me wrong, like cold is brutal, but I fell in love with this on the go life, and I fell in love with seeing new places. And within 3 years, I've been to every state on the East Coast. So yeah, and then I went to Nashville, and I loved Nashville. And then we did a big trip, out to Canada or Western Canada. I mean, I've been to Montreal and Quebec area a bunch of times. We did Alberta and we went over all the way to British Columbia. So if anybody doesn't know, if you just Google Emerald Lake and zoom out, you're in the middle of bumfuck,
Mm-hmm.
literally nowhere, and of Canada,
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of nowhere, Canada. It's almost like Saskatchewan. It's like nowhere,
Yeah.
but I fell in love with learning about places and seeing what the world had to offer. Like, yeah, I'm in New York City, but or not. Well, I'm in Long Island, but I've never been to the Statue of Liberty. My office looks at it. There's no reason for me to go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't find anything appealing of that. I don't want to go see the buildings. I won't be to the new World Trade Center. I haven't been in there either. I'm such a lover of true nature. I went down to the Dominican, stayed on the beach, like love that. Went out to San Fran, then I flew, or I've been to San Fran and LA on the West Coast. Not about the city. Did an entire drive along the coast, totally about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person, and I don't even need to photograph a lot of it. Like sometimes I just can't get a good photo. Like I'm not a photographer, so I'm not gonna like rip out a beautiful camera and a beautiful photo. But the just the views that you get in places. Unfortunately, Instagram has now ruined everything. So everywhere you go, there's tons and tons of people. So like I've been to Lake Louise 3 times. Everybody wants to go to Lake Louise now because all these famous people have been there. I was there 5 years ago before anybody even knew where it was. I actually like going to places that I get no cell phone service. So I like to be completely off the grid. Like I've done, again, I was just in Utah. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I went with a group of people. But if I went on my own, I probably would have went out and like explored a little bit more. I've done Colorado a bunch of times. I have been in the back roads of Maine where if I die, nobody's finding me for a year.
Yeah.
Like, I just live for seeing and experiencing. And I used to, unfortunately, prep has ruined this for me. I used to go for the food and food experiences. Those days are unfortunately gone, so I had to change it up a bit. But I love seeing what the world has to offer because so much of it is through a filter and through a lens, and I'd rather go by myself and see it on my own than just say I'm going to do it. And I think that's where a lot of my stuff, my entire personality comes from, is I don't want to say I'm going to do something, I'm just going to do it. So I want to go somewhere. I'm not going to say I'm going to go. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go.
And that's so awesome. This is a question that I actually thought of on the whim that I was going to ask. And, since you're a big snowboarder, how is, putting on muscle and how is, changing your shape affected your snowboarding? Because a lot of it's aerodynamic. So if you were a little bit more, has it really thrown off your balance at all? Or has it been something that you've had to adjust to?
No, not at all. Actually, if anything, I'm the best boarder I've ever been because now my legs are like tanks. I don't get tired. I don't get winded. I'm so capable of realistically anything on the mountain now. Where 2 years ago I'd struggle riding an entire day, and now I just bang out runs, no problem. So my conditioning has gotten really good.
Yeah. Well, and I always have to mention whenever we have snowboarders on that, I'm in the part of Minnesota. I live less than a mile away from a big skiing just from a few mountains it's a ski recreation place, and that's where Lindsey Vonn trained because she grew up like a couple of miles away from where I live. So that's always our claim to fame. So yeah, when people say snowboarding, I'm more of a skier myself, but yeah, I love going down. I love skiing and I love all of that winter stuff. I mean, because let's face it, what else are you gonna do really during the winter? That's probably one of the few things that you
Hockey.
can do.
You got hockey?
Well, of course we have hockey. Well, actually, right now, so when I'm talking to you right now, it's our state tournament where we have 20,000 people go to watch a bunch of high school kids playing a hockey game. But yeah, so I'll be watching that right after I'm done talking with you. But yeah, hockey. Yeah, well, I mean that goes without saying. I mean, I'm go out and I play hockey, 3 times a week when I can. But now we have. I mean, I like to have this little sort of quick little questionnaire before we wrap things up here. So now, if you could change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, if someone just went up to you and said, like, Gabby, we all made a decision, like, you have the all-knowing power now, you can decide one thing about the sport of bodybuilding or just the health and fitness in general that you'd want to see change, and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd want to see changed?
So if in the sport of bodybuilding, because that's almost 2 different questions, one for health and fitness, the other is for bodybuilding. For the sport of bodybuilding, I want to bring back the feminism of the women's classes. I think, especially figure. I mean, even physique now. There's a lot lost in the feminist part. Like, there's just these women. I mean, kudos to them for being shredded and amazing and doing what they do, but we're losing what women are, and I want to bring back that, like, you're a female, you're a lady, like, bring bring something back to it. Like, I don't know how to say that without sounding terrible. I really, this is something that really resonates with me hard, because I've said I want to change. That's what I would want to change about the industry, or at least the bodybuilding industry. For the health and fitness industry, that's a totally different question. What I would love to see is just with the, it's not, there's no easy fix. There's no instant gratification, and stop selling products and things that say 24 hours you're going to feel like this, or 48 hours, like these fit teas. Like, okay, no, you're basically given laxatives. This is why you're losing 5 pounds. Or this is a diuretic, this is why you're losing a couple pounds. Like, I don't want, that's what I would want to see the fitness and health industry change, is have the truth revealed that it's work, it's time, it's dedication.
Yep. I always say with our generation, it's always everyone wants everything now and they want it yesterday, where they're not willing to put in
Yes.
the work that goes into it. And it's one of those things where I like to compare it to, someone who's trying to lose weight and someone who's an alcoholic. If you're an alcoholic and you go one day without drinking, I mean, that's already significant progress, especially for some people. But if you go one day in the gym and you look at yourself in the mirror, nothing's going to change. You're still going to look the same. I mean, it's just one of those things where you just have to wrap your mind around, hey, it's going to take some time. But once it does start, and, a couple of weeks or a couple of months in, when you finally start to see a little bit of change, then it just can become so addictive and just so positive that I always tell people, just stick to it, and it can really, really benefit your life. But if you could go back in time and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice you would give her?
Best piece of advice that I would give her, I would say, basically, just do everything you've done. Stay who you are and don't forget who you are. And my biggest thing, and I say this to myself every day, because in the last 2 years, I've had a lot of heartbreak and I've had a lot of issues, like, not issues, but like relationships. My family left. You don't need anybody. That's my biggest, because at 18, and this hits home for me very hard. I felt like I needed somebody, and I felt like, and I leaned on my ex a lot, and it caused a lot of issues in the relationship because I was so dependent. And for years, I tried telling myself, I tried saying, like, I don't need anybody, I don't need anybody. And until I walked away, I didn't believe it. And then I did this entire prep, and I would go back to my 18-year-old self, and I would say, you don't need anybody. You can do it on your own. That is the biggest piece of advice, and I give that advice to anybody. Don't need anybody.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And I'd also tell yourself too, I mean, like, look at how jacked you're going to be or whatever when you get older or whatever. That might inspire a little bit too. But now the 3 questions that I love to ask before we wrap things up here. So for the first one, what would you say is, the best piece of advice that you could give someone? Like, if someone were to walk up to you on the street and say, like, oh my God, you look amazing, like, I want to get into shape myself, I really want to start to, make that change, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give them just to be able to get started? Because for a lot of people, just getting started is the hardest thing.
I would say, how bad do you want it? Mm-hmm. If you want it badly enough, you'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest piece of advice to anybody. You have to want it more. You have to want to see the change. Like, if you want something, you go to the store, you buy it. Yes, it's instant. But if you want a family, you want a relationship, right? It takes time, it takes effort. Same idea with bodybuilding and getting into shape. So I'd say find your want. If you really want this, yes, go after it. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna I'm gonna try it. Okay, yeah, it will work for a little while. Like, you're gonna go to the gym, you're gonna enjoy it. But if you don't love it, don't force yourself. Like, some people don't need to go to the gym. They don't enjoy it. If you don't like it, if you're going and it feels like a job, don't do it.
Yeah. No,
it's not for everybody. It's not. Exercise is great, right? It keeps you running, keeps the brain going and doing what it needs to do, and it keeps you healthy. But you don't have to bodybuild. You don't have to do these crazy classes and these fit things. If you like the social aspect, go do classes. I have a girlfriend. She's not a big fan of working out, but she said I inspired her. So when I talked to her, I was like, "Well, what do you like to do?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know yet." So I was like, "You know what? Try a couple classes. You don't know how to work out on your own. Try try something else. Try doing like she loves yoga. She goes to yoga all the time. I hate group activities. I don't do it.
Yeah.
But that's my advice for people if they want to try and get into it. I say figure out if you really want it.
Mhm. Yeah, and when I always say too, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about, just taking that first step. And once you take that first step, every step that you take after that becomes just a little bit easier. And it's just about slowly building up. And like we were talking about before, it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to put in the work and the effort. But in the end, I mean, seeing at the end results, I mean, in my opinion at least, and I know at least in your opinion too, it is totally, totally worth it. But now, if we were to talk to you a year from now, where would you like to be at? I mean, in your bodybuilding career and just your average everyday life. I mean, are you planning on competing at all this year, or are you just going to take the year to grow? What is your plan like?
So I am planning on competing.
Mhm.
So just keep your eyes peeled. I don't like revealing what shows I'm doing.
All right.
Um, I do that for two reasons. I don't know if I'm going to be ready for a
Mhm.
show, so I don't like to make empty promises to anybody, even myself.
Mhm.
I have targets, obviously. So yes, I do plan on competing this year. And in a year from now, I'd like to tell myself things are gonna work out more for me. I would like to see myself obviously holding a pro card. I would love that. I would like to see my fitness like journey with others, the people that I've helped take off, and I'd like to see myself happy outside of the gym. My personal life, I'm complacent. I'm fine. Like nothing is amazing. Like if you ask me about my everyday life that didn't include the gym, there's nothing to tell. Like maybe besides my travels, like that's it. But that's where I'd like to see myself. I would like to see myself in a career in the fitness industry.
Mhm.
That's what I would love because I love it, and I preach to people do what you love. Unfortunately, right now I have to do what I don't love
Yeah.
until I do what I love that
Mhm.
supports my income.
Yeah.
So
No. Yeah.
that's
That I mean, and that's so true, and that's one thing that I gotta tell everyone. I mean, it's just like, yeah, you got to do what you love and just find that passion. But now, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
definitely my coach Dom Cardone. He's amazing. I think he's unreal. I couldn't thank him enough. Like everything I've ever done with him and worked with him, he's awesome. My posing coach Chula. She's anybody who's looking to pose. She's your girl. You know, she's got this massive empire that she's built. I really really respect her. And no lie, probably my training partner. And I mean, I don't even know if he would ever even see this, but he he knows who he is, and he's unbelievable. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't see nearly as many changes as I have in my body. He knows how to train, and he knows what works. And I have been so fortunate that we just ended up meeting at the gym, and we train the same way, and it works for both of us. And it's very very rare, and we have that dynamic. And anybody who knows us, they see it, and it almost like stops the room. We train, both of us have our headphones in. All we have to do is look at each other. We know exactly what we're training next, how we're going to train, and how we're going to do it. Don't even have to say a word. So those are the three people, and they without them, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm supposed to be in my bodybuilding career.
And that is so awesome because I always tell people it's like you're gonna need that support. I mean, you can do a lot of things on your own, like what we were talking about, but just that support of like the coaching and the posing. I mean, and that's one thing too that I gotta say as we wrap things up here. I mean, get a posing coach. I've had so many people come on here who they try, or get a coach early on too, because I've had so many people 2 weeks out. Oh, I'm gonna start posing now or learning to pose now with a coach. It's like, yeah, well, good luck with that. So yeah, that's one of the biggest pieces, and also have that support because it can be so important. Like I started my fitness journey, really in high school, but then in college, I didn't. I was one of those people where I had to work out by myself. I didn't like have running into any people or different. I didn't like talking. I just wanted to get in there, get it done, and then leave. But yeah, just realizing that you are just having that support can be so important. And again, Gabby, we cannot thank you enough for being on the show. Everyone, go and give her a follow. I'll leave the link to her Instagram down below. And like I always say, just looking at some of her photos, I mean, you're going to be inspired to get off the couch and stop eating all those Twinkies and, go to the gym and start to get into shape. And we wish you nothing but the best in your dream. I honestly think you're going to get a pro card. I mean, just looking at some of your photos, I mean, and you have the drive and determination too, and the big dick energy that like we were talking about. I totally, totally see that. So again, we wish you nothing but the best. And I think that you're going to do great. And yeah, I mean, when we find out what show you're going to be on, yeah, I'll definitely let some people know just so that they can keep a watch out. And again, you guys go and give her a follow. I'll leave a link to all of her stuff down below. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.